Thank you for joining us for All Things Real Estate. Now here are your hosts, Brad Avergon and Gary Kelly.
Good morning or afternoon as the case may be. This is All Things Real Estate. I'm Gary Kelly with Lamacchia Realty, and I'm joined as always by
Brad Avergon with Fairway Independent Mortgage. How are you, Gary?
I am good, Brad. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. Thank you.
Well, that's a good thing. So Brad, I want to take you back. I don't remember when the 90s, something like that. There was a fictional character by the name of Howard Beale. He was a newscaster, and he was a talking head and did the same news every night. And finally, he lost it. And in losing it, he actually gained a great following. But one of his things was, I want you all to stand up. Stand up right now. I want you to go to your windows and throw them open and say, I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. And I feel like, I'm not Howard Beale. He did a lot of that stuff standing in the rain, which I'm inside right now. But I feel like we're in a similar situation right now. Everything seems negative.
Right.
Okay, we've got Elon Musk has bought Twitter and he's decided to let half the people go. Okay, now I'm not going to weigh in on whether that's wise from a business perspective. Apparently, people are suing him because he didn't give appropriate notice of the people he's going to lay off.
I heard that.
But at the same time, he's doing what he has to do to cut expenses. You look at interest rates. Brad, where are interest rates today?
Interest rates are around a 30-year fix with no points is running around 7% right now. It's between 7 and 7.25.
Oh my God, it's 7%.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
You've got Tom Brady and Giselle are now divorced. As someone that went through the divorce process, I don't have a clue how they were able to do that so quickly.
Well,
I just don't know.
He is the GOAT.
He is the GOAT. And I would think when it comes to the dating scene, it's going to be, both of them definitely are a positive impact on the dating pool.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I look and say, I was at one of my favorite restaurants the other night. You know the one. You've been there.
Mm-hmm.
And the owner was saying, let's talk about olives. Now, the truth is I don't like olives. So I tend not to have them. Okay? And he's there saying a jar of olives used to cost $12. He just had them delivered and a jar of olives is now $48.
It's great, Gary. I came back in shock this weekend when I went into my local retail store to buy Halloween candy in anticipation of Halloween on Monday. And I literally, this is not an exaggeration, I saw a bag of candy, your standard, mix of chocolate or whatever. And it was, admittedly, it was like 150 piece or 165 piece bag. So it was one of those jumbo bags. $30, $29.99, $30 for a bag of candy. I said, that's all I said. That's all I could say.
Well, the proprietor of the place with the olives was saying, why have the cost of olives gone up? Why have they quadrupled? He says, this stuff grows on trees. Now, yes, it costs more to ship them, a little more for the fuel and all that stuff. But he says, where is this all coming from? I don't know. I think it's crazy.
It is crazy. Mobil and Chevron had their most profitable quarter, I think, in history, like the last quarter. And when there was a time when there was, the fuel oil thing. So I'm not going to say that I have the ability or the knowledge to be able to go in and delve into these companies to see what's going on. Because again, as prices go up, certain things can happen. But when you're looking at those types of increases in profit during a time of economic challenge, it does pose a question. It does pose a question, and because everybody understands. Look at when you had challenges getting ships, with olives, let's say, okay, over. It's understanding it's going to cost more. It's going to take more time. Yes, that's all true, but there's also that balance. What about how much higher is higher with olives? How much more do you have to make? It does certainly call those things in question. So I think I don't know. We should look into this olive scenario.
Well, I don't like olives to start with, so olive oil is fine, but I'm not into olives in a beverage.
Right.
But it's just everywhere you go, it seems like this negative pall over everything.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of frustration out there. I think consumers are really frustrated with paying more in many regards. I think it's hard, but yet we're still seeing them purchasing them. So people are still purchasing olives. The people are still purchasing. And one of the things that the Fed is looking at is trying to drive down inflation, is trying to drive down some of the demand, because that's
Well, let's talk about demand for a second.
Okay.
Sue and I were over in Westboro last night. Okay? And we had tickets to go see a play in Worcester. And I looked at her. We ran into one of our friends, a handyman at the True Value store. Or the Ace. It was True Value. It's Ace now.
Yeah.
And Eric was out there, and Eric came to the car, and he was chatty. So it was that, when we were finished chatting with Eric, we had to run to the show. And I looked at Sue and I said, one time only, we can either go to the show or we can go to Arturo's. And I said, frankly, I'm fine doing either. I wasn't in the mood to go to a show and stay out late and all that stuff. Call me old, but that was my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we go to Arturo's, very nice place in Westboro, Italian. And we're talking now, it's 6:15-ish, right after the time the Ace closed. And it was a 1 hour wait to get a seat. I mean, are you kidding me? 1 hour wait to get into a restaurant? I won't stay an hour. I lived in Florida for a while, and everything in Florida was a 1-2 hour wait. And I just don't want to deal with that.
Right.
So we decided, we sent the Olive Man a text and said, can you get us in, just two lonely people? We can either sit on the bar side, or if we must, we'll sit on the restaurant side. And his response is, come on in. And the place was busy, but he squeezed in 2 seats at the bar. We had a nice night, fabulous. But I don't get where the demand is coming from for people that, things are price high and you can't afford gas. And I'm personally concerned for people with the price of heating their homes this winter. Okay.
So, yeah. So I have an opinion on that.
Okay. This is good. This is going to be good.
I think that coming out of an unprecedented 2-year waiting period, I'm going to call it 2 years. Some people were out earlier, whatever. I'm going to call it 2-year period in which people kind of lived in their caves. They were, to quote your phrase, they were mad as hell and they weren't going to take it anymore.
Yeah.
And they said, we're going out, we're living our lives, and we're going to do whatever we got to do. Now, there has been, clearly we've seen it in the restaurant area. Clearly we've seen it in the travel area. My gosh, I was pricing some vacations. I can't believe, my wife said to me, we were supposed to fly to Aruba last spring, and it was one price, and we just priced it again. We didn't get a chance to go because of some of the COVID restrictions. We priced it again. It's more than double. So, you know, as
Well,
as
this is where I say, Aruba, excuse me. You can certainly get to Cleveland without a problem and no COVID restrictions.
You're right, but Cleveland's not quite as warm in February as Aruba, so that's one of the things. But my point is this: I think there's been there was a reaction to what we were coming out of, and people are like, "Look, I want to live my life. I want to get what I want to get, and whatever it costs, it costs." But there's another side of it that I think is starting to come home to roost. During that COVID period of time, there was a lot of stimulus money that was pumped in there, so people were getting checks just for existing. And again, I don't want to. There was a lot of people that were suffering, but there was a lot of people that received money that they would not have had otherwise. The labor market was very challenged for people to hire because in some cases they were getting more on unemployment than they were getting if they had been working. So that was hard to bring people back to the workforce. But I think what's happening now is things are coming more home to roost. I know in the technology sector, in the next 30 days, and you mentioned it with Elon Musk. A number of other companies announced that they are slowing their hiring, if at all. Amazon being one of them. Many companies I'm hearing about are not only stopping their hiring, and slowing their hiring, but they're trimming down. They're trimming down for what is kind of expected to come, which is this things are not quite as euphoric as people thought. And the hope and expectation by the Fed is that this will stem some of the demand, that going out for dinner every night, to whatever restaurant, or traveling all over the place, people might put it on hold a little bit. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I will tell you this: the Fed has a mission. They absolutely have a mission, and they are going to bring that inflation number down no matter what they have to do that. And when I say know what they have to do, their key component is interest rates. And clearly,
hey Brad.
Yeah.
Let's continue that in the second half. Right now, we got to go pay some bills.
All right, you got it. See you on the flip side.
Stay tuned. More All Things Real Estate coming right up.